Cool. Blake, thanks for being here to share a bit of your experience with other guys. And I know they're going to be eager to hear what you have experienced through Mission Fit Dads and just kind of what some of the impacts of working with our team has been. So, yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Cool. Well, I want to keep this short and sweet for guys. So maybe we'll just dive right in. As you were exploring Mission Fit Dads with me, before you started and kind of like considering through it. I know you talked with your wife and you guys were kind of processing through stuff. Like, what made you finally decide to join? Was there something specific?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I think we're so inundated with content and knowledge. Like coming into the call, it was like, well, I feel like I know a lot of this stuff, but I'm not acting on any of that knowledge. So it's not really translating to belief, which is something I had seen you talk about so much, but really digging into it together in that first like one-on-one was just like, oh man, I really need to work on this. Like, I have to have a better understanding of why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And is it really rooted in scripture and who the Lord's calling me to be? Or is it just what's convenient, what's culturally acceptable? That
Mm.
was one part. The other part, especially talking to Chris and my wife, was like, these are lifelong habits that I've struggled with and I want to build that will serve us and our grandchildren. So for us, it was the mindset shift of, it's not just about my physical fitness. It's really of what's the impact to our kids now and then our future children.
Mm.
And that amount of money, it's like that's totally worth it. Like if I can look back 40 years from now and go like every day I'm in the word, I'm praying, I'm drinking the right amount of water, eating, exercising, and leading my family is like it became a no-brainer for us once we had that conversation and wrestled with the real implications of
Yeah.
something that seems small but compounds so much over time. That was really hard just in the fitness mindset I'm used to being in, which is like you go super hard, you're always sore and tired. And this is like you have to look at it really long term. And I mean, that was like the big clutch moment for us as a family. Like, yeah, this is worth us doing together.
I love it. That's great. That's a good perspective. So, as you have been in this for a while, you're, what, 8, 9 months
Yeah.
into the mix here. Like, what's the biggest win? What are some things that you would call out that have been wins for you, or maybe even things that you never thought you would actually, get traction in or get under control?
Yeah. There's a lot there. First, it's as silly it sounds, but we were dabbling in and out of like seed oils and getting rid of them and not getting rid of them, but having just even a nutritional guide to be like, okay, like we've talked about this, but really having the impact of all these other guys doing it, and it's like we know we need to make the change, and now you don't feel so isolated when you're trying to make what seems extreme changes, but is really just healthy changes for you and your family. It was definitely the push we needed on that front.
Yeah.
Um, for me personally, it wasn't about weight loss as much as about weight gain and trying to rethink about my own body image unto the Lord and what does He call me to do, and not making it about what's like I really like running, so that's convenient. So one of the big wins was not intermittent fasting every day and realizing like how much I'd been starving my body and needing to eat, and the purpose of food can be utility and for joy and not just solely looking at it as this high like, oh, I'm gonna just gorge out on all this food. And it's like, well, that's not the intended purpose. So those two things have been really helpful. It's funny, like weighing the most I've ever weighed in my life and it being a good thing. It's like, oh, like I've gained muscle. Like I'm not, Krista would, she's like, you look like Skeletor. Like you've lost all this weight. You're just kind of thin. And like, I don't want to be fragile and I'm not. But yeah, reorienting my thoughts around food. What is a man of God supposed to even like aim towards? And really submitting my desires back to his have been a huge victory as far as just like, yeah, this is about submission to what he's calling each of us as fathers to do, not just what we like to do. So
Yeah.
that's been huge for us.
So to clarify, the Skeletor thing, that was like she was making fun of the old Blake
Yes.
that liked to run a lot.
Yeah, just that looked like gaunt, like the blood would run out of my face. I just looked like too skinny almost. But
Yeah.
I'm like, but I'm running and I'm fast at running and it's so good. But we compare that to who does the Lord want me to be as far as like a father and the skills and the muscle and the physique? It's like, well, it's not bad to be a good runner, but if it's not compared with strength and skill, ultimately, it's really not me submitting to what I should be submitting to. So her this is just a old-timey nickname she's had for me because I've been in that prior to the program, just
Yeah.
looking maybe weak. So
That makes sense. So
yeah.
I guess that kind of brings up you've stated a lot of stuff there. Is there a concise way that you would describe from your own personal experience, like what's been the biggest difference with this compared to other fitness things you've done in the past? Because you're not a stranger to fitness, you've done a lot of stuff. Where would you say that the line is drawn where this is it has been really unique for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was it's not about being externally motivated so much as like, oh, when I'm going to F3 or a specific workout, you're going because of the people who are there. You're not doing it necessarily because the Lord has commanded and called you to live this way in your life. And so reorienting that is
Mm,
one of the biggest things for me of there's no other program that's connecting mind, body, soul, and spirit, which is what we're commanded to love the Lord and our neighbors with,
mhm.
connecting back to actually what does that mean fitness wise? Like, how do we
Yeah,
understand what does it mean to be a father under that lens rather than it was really easy in the past just to be about what's your body fat percentage or what are you benching versus how are you interacting with your wife and kids and your energy at work and your consistency and are you disciplined because you're submitting this unto the Lord, or are you disciplined because other people are just saying, hey, you need to show up? So
yeah,
that internal motivation was the big change for me of it's really about aligning myself back to the Lord's vision of fathers and not just what's convenient for me more
yeah,
than anything. So different. I'll say the other thing is it's tying back to what we're really supposed to be living like, mind, body, soul, and spirit. So that was I think I just spent so much time trying to disconnect those two things.
mm,
Like you can abuse food in these things, and it's just it's whatever. It's okay. It's okay to be a glutton. It's okay to do these things. And really, the Lord cares about all of those things, is why He commands us to love Him like
yeah, totally.
that. And I just don't think there's anything else that has given me a biblical foundation and vision for why it's so important and that the scripture's there and then it's oh well now I can teach my children these things now I can talk to my wife about these things and it's not just hey the CrossFit guy has a good idea it's like oh our whole worldview is actually subjected to these things and it's way different making family changes when you're submitting to the Lord's will and his word than like what's happening these days so that's huge difference though for us too.
Yeah. Man, that's so good. I love it. So, kind of dovetailing off of that, with the family stuff, like how have they been responding? What's some of the things that you're noticing in terms of Krissa and the kids? And yeah, this could be, you know, adjacent things, or it could be maybe, health related or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more decisive on things and very much, I think, just leaning into leading in this area where, Chris's background was pastry school. So we're like constantly batting a plethora of cookies and treats and breads and even just going, well, like, I know I need to lead in this area, and now I feel way more confident to lead in this to where, we did get rid of all the seed oils, and it's like, I can't believe we did it. Like, this is actually amazing. Now my kids, I kid you not, like after church, if there's snacks, they're carping on people like, well, we don't eat that. That's got seed oils. Those are bad for you. GMOs are bad for you. All this stuff. And I'm like, well, they're not wrong, but I need to teach you some tact in how we go about it.
Yes,
But
yes, that's so
it's
funny.
amazing how much taking action with them and bringing them into those decisions and like, hey, direction our family's going. they want to be a part of it. And so now it's not just me trying to do it, it's Chris and I together, and then our kids are following suit. That and now with things like doing jujitsu, not playing ice hockey, getting to share like why. Like,
Yeah.
hey, ice hockey's super fun. I really liked it, but it's really self-serving. And it's not actually about me being a good father. It's about me just having a lot of fun. It's not bad, but I can have a lot of fun doing jujitsu and gaining a skill that my family, my generations above me and below have never had.
Yeah.
And they get started thinking like, oh, well, dad's making decisions based on not what's convenient for him or just out of pleasure. It's in what's good for our family and the future of our family. And that's been, yeah, it's been fun to see them interact with that. Now they're always trying to like chokehold me and stuff like all the time. Like, this is okay. I guess I asked for it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I love that. And I've seen you grow, I think, a tremendous amount just in taking on this identity of father, which is so fun to see. And I'm hearing in all of your answers that's kind of coming to the forefront. And obviously, we unpack, a lot of discussion throughout this program on the concept of fatherhood, and it's clear that that has become a big driver for you is following the Lord as a father and really what that looks like. So that's just so cool. Last thing, um, if another guy was considering joining our community and was on the fence, like what would you tell him? What kind of advice or insights would you give to him?
Yeah, I mean, for those guys who are kind of teetering on the fence, I think they already know the answer. I think they know they need to do something like this because if they didn't, why would they be considering it? Because that's where I was, was, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And then realizing that all this knowledge is not leading to action. And this program is literally built to take you from knowledge to actual belief, which means you're acting on what you say you believe.
Yeah,
And that's worth its weight in gold of even just that one skill of what I believe to be true. Am I actually acting on that? And this has
yeah,
been so monumental for us of, I talk about in other areas of our life from, finance to relationships. It's like, well, do we actually believe it to be true or are we saying it's true and not acting? Because then we really don't believe it. And our actions are showing our lack of belief. So I think for those guys, it's really just looking themselves in the mirror and asking that question like, do I just have a lot of knowledge and I'm not acting on it? And am I really submitting my life unto the Lord is what it means to be a father and leading my family? Or is there gaps? And if there are, then this is the place for you to be because everybody's going to start at a different place. But
mm,
I mean, this is where I've seen tremendous growth and seeing the community around us grow as well. It's like there just isn't a place I've experienced, even though I've sought after it. And we talked about that the first time of like men who really want to lead their family. They want to sharpen each other. They're okay with being maybe labeled extreme in some things because they know that's the vision that the Lord wants for them and their family.
yeah,
And they want to surround themselves with men who want to build each other up, but also call each other out and have that community
yeah,
aspect of, hey, you're here, you should be here, let's help you, not like discourage you.
yes,
It's almost like a discipleship program at the same time. So there's so much more than just like getting physically fit. It's the mental, spiritual,
mm,
um, building relationships with others across the lines. I think that's just like, yeah, for me, I would just say do it, obviously, but
yeah,
really ask yourself those questions of what are you missing and do you really have belief without action, which means you don't. If that's you, then I mean, they should talk to you. So,
yeah, yeah. Thanks. I think, man, that's one of the biggest pieces, and I'm sure guys are listening to this and they're questioning, like, do I have that much knowledge? And I would just kind of clarify that most people can get incredibly fit by following through on something very basic, like like basic nutrition stuff. Like we know the chip bag is not a
yeah,
healthy choice. We know that all the
don't eat 10
cookies not,
muffins.
like, so when I think of knowledge the way you're describing it, that's what I think of is like most of us, we know the basics that could keep us healthy for decades. And those are the things it's like, well, I don't know exactly what workout routine to do. And it's like, well, are you doing anything? Like lift some weights, do a little bit of cardio, walk a lot, like whatever it is, like to go do something. And could you be healthier today than you are if if there was follow through, if there was action associated with that belief thing. And so just for anyone that's watching this, you don't have to have this incredible like advanced knowledge. You just like need to do what you know is good. And so
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for doing this, Blake. I appreciate you being here, and I hope this is helpful for anyone that's watching or listening.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.